Welcome to the Do It Anyway podcast. I am your host, Maria Redman, here to take you down the path of all things fitness, wellness, nutrition, and all things in between. I want to welcome you today and thank you for joining me on episode 16. I cannot believe that I am at episode 16. This thing is apparently growing and the train just keeps on rolling. So, thank you for joining me on this episode. If you're new here, I want to thank you for your time and appreciate you for listening in. You can also listen on Spotify, Applecast, and YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and share it. That helps the algorithm and my podcast get out there. So, on today's episode, I wanted to take some time and answer some questions. I've had some great feedback on the episodes, which I appreciate, and some questions. And so I figured rather than just hitting the like button or kind of, answering them individually, I would kind of go into a few of the questions for those of you that left them and DM'd me these. And they were all about B, which was pretty cool, but mostly about my physique and things I eat, things of that nature. So let's get into it. I didn't write down who asked me the questions. I guess in hindsight I should have, but for those who sent the questions, thank you. Next time I'll be sure to write your names down and give you some credit. I don't know why I didn't think of that until now, so I apologize. But um, the first question that I received was two-part. It was how I got my physique and how does it feel being a very muscular woman. So I'll tackle the how I got my physique first. What you see sitting here is definitely lots of years in the making. For those of you that don't know, I started a weight loss journey back in 2008 and I lost over 145 pounds. And that kind of just started this entire snowball effect into the world of fitness and bodybuilding. Um, I look like a scrawny little thing back in the day. Like I look at pictures now and I'm really impressed at how much work I've put in that I can actually look at photos and kind of see the transition of my body. But when I initially started on this whole thing, I was doing some traditional workouts in the gym with a trainer, but then he had me doing like a lot more powerlifting things. So I was doing a lot of deadlifts, a lot of squats, a lot of bench press, and we really didn't do a lot of what we would call in the powerlifting world accessory work. We did, some work with dumbbells for biceps and a little bit of tricep strength because you definitely need all of that. But it wasn't the traditional workout setup for a very long time, months and months and months. As the weight loss started to come off, we started to transition from more of a powerlifting style of weight training to bodybuilding style weight training because I quickly decided that I wanted to switch. Well, he decided for me that, I should probably go into doing bodybuilding. He felt like I had the physique to do figure back then. And I kind of reluctantly agreed because he took some, he showed me some pictures of girls back then that were in heels and figure back then used to wear one piece. We didn't have two pieces back then. And I was like, I don't know. These girls look like strippers to me. And I don't know if I should do this or not. But he talked me into it. And so that's kind of where I got my start in terms of lifting weights and building my physique. And then years went on. I started hanging out with a group of guys at the gym. You kind of, when you go to a gym long enough, you kind of get a crew. And most of the women back then weren't really into heavy lifting as much as they are now. And so my crew ended up being a group of guys, which I just want to say, if you're female and you're into lifting weights, one of the best things I can ever tell you to do is really hook up with a group of guys who are really serious about their training. I feel like my physique honestly took hold and started to change because of the group of guys that I was training with. They would push me to do a lot of different movements with a lot of weight. And they were there to, be spots and supportive. And it really, really just worked out crazy, crazy, crazy good for my physique. The pull-ups, I wanted to learn how to do pull-ups and I had a bad dream about falling off of a building. And so I said, I need to learn how to do pull-ups. And they were the ones who really got me into starting to do pull-ups with, there was no assisted machine at our gym, holding my feet, just hoisting me up there. And I got really, really good at doing pull-ups. And so I still do pull-ups. I do 100 pull-ups every other day now in my, fitness regimen. So that's kind of how I got started. And once I started competing, I won my first figure competition, and I think I was bit by like the competition bug. So my mindset totally switched. And I liked looking at my body start to form what I thought was muscular then, which is so funny because I look back at those pictures now and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know what I looked like. But for me, coming from losing so much weight, it was good, right? So I was enjoying the process and the journey. And I started to just get on this quest of, how in shape could I be and look very feminine still, and just embarked on that journey. And every session I take every session of weight training very serious. I always have, because I'm a respecter of time. I understand that time is our most valuable asset. We can never get it back. And so I said, if I'm going to commit to, training like this, then I'm going to make sure that every session that I go to is a session well worth it. And I optimize and utilize every bit of time. So that's really how I got my physique. It's really nothing to it, nothing overly scientific. I do believe in progressive overload workouts. So I did a lot of that in the very beginning. And what I have learned is that the more muscular you become, um, I'm sure some of you have seen YouTube videos of bodybuilders doing like weird exercises or weird angles. Well, as your muscles start to develop, in order for you to start to get more detail, you do need to change the angles and do some weird movements to kind of develop all the little crevices. And so that's kind of what I've learned as I've gotten, to the size that I am now, is that I needed to start training and doing like what would look like weird movements to kind of get all the detail that I like to have. But that's kind of how I got where my physique is today. I am as big as I want to be. I have no desire to be any bigger. I thankfully do not suffer with body dysmorphia like a lot of competitors in the space do. You'll talk to a lot of women and they will say that even though they're huge, they'll still say things like they feel so small. Um, I have no desire to get any bigger. I love the way my physique looks. I feel like I have a very dominant presence, but at the same time, and I'm in what people would call an off season now. This is my everyday look. I'm definitely nowhere near as shredded as I typically am for a show. That's a whole different look. But for my everyday, I feel like I have that muscularity and a very dominant presence, but at the same time, I still have a very feminine look. So I'm very happy with that, and I have no desire to change that. So when I'm in the gym nowadays, I'm just really working on um, maintaining. Well, I'm always looking for strength, right? There's still a little ego side in me. So, anytime I can take my bench press up, I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to just lift lighter weights. I still always go in and I lift very heavy. I will still push the weight, but I'm at the point now where the only way to get bigger than this, where I'm currently sit, is to take some, special supplementation to get bigger. And at this point in my life, it's not necessary for me. I'm not looking to be a Miss Olympia or, any of that. So there's no need to start putting that stuff in my body to get any bigger. I'm happy with the way that I am now. I'm good. So that's how I got my physique. I hope that answers the question for you. How does it feel to be a muscular woman? There's a lot to that question. There are days where I thoroughly enjoy being, mostly every day. I enjoy being a muscular woman, to be quite honest. I like that it gives me that type of power and presence when I walk in a room. Well, I'm a pretty confident woman anyway, but when I walk in a room, and I hope this doesn't sound cocky, but I command attention. And I like that. I notice that people perk up and they tend to listen to me more too. And I don't know if it's so much the muscularity, more so that I'm just really in good shape and that's respected, that someone really takes time to on their self. I really think it's more that, so more so than the muscularity. But then it has its really weird downsides too. It doesn't bum me out or anything, but like I, I don't do Walmarts. I can't do a Walmart. People in Walmart are ask me the wildest things, from the simplest of questions like, "Oh, you must work out a lot," to, how much juice you taking, and so that can get a little weird. People always touch me without asking. My arms are constantly squeezed. It could be in a grocery store, it could be a Starbucks, it could be at a doctor's office. I am constantly touched without asking. That is really unnerving. Um, so there's that piece of it too. Um,
I have a question for you about that.
yes,
Is there like a proper, that's like not proper etiquette,
it's
right?
not proper etiquette at
I
all.
would say, would you be way more inclined if someone went up to you and say, wow, your muscles are amazing. Is it okay if I take a squeeze? And you can then say
Yes,
no?
I would, yes, which is what I would be like, no. I would prefer if they'd ask, but I think they know they're gonna get a no, but I think it's so mesmerizing to them that they just want to touch, they just have to touch it. Like, because I've seen some people as they're going in and I'm kind of looking at them like, no, and they still are coming in like, but I have to. And I'm like, but you see me saying no. It's happening. It happened. Okay.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
happened. And then at the same time, you could sock them right in the face.
Yes.
And you could.
And I never do. I try to really, in the beginning, it used to really unnerve me and put me off. But I really started to think about it. My youngest, Layla, said one time, someone was staring at me, and I said, "Oh, sometimes I hate being stared at like that." And she said, "Mom, sometimes they're staring because maybe they just want to be like that too." And it opened my eyes to look at it differently. And so with the touching thing, I started having a different outlook on it, saying, "Wow, they really just want to see what that feels like." Most of the time in life they've never encountered it, like, so, and we are physical beings, right? So we see, smell, touch. So to see it, you're like, well, I wonder what that feels like if I touch it, because we build things in our mind, and who knows what's in their head that they've built when looking at it. So I stopped, I kind of said, well, you could have asked first, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. They never really mean any harm, but so I get touched a lot. That could be a thing. One thing that I do find very difficult is it's very difficult to purchase beautiful clothing. My arms are out 99% of the time. I think people think I want to show off my arms, but I promise you that's not it. The truth is that because my body is tinier and, more petite, my arms are so big, they don't make female shirts like that. So it's either I've got to buy something that I can fit my arms in, and the body of it will be very baggy and not very pretty. Or I've got to wear a men's shirt, and that's not very attractive either. So I'm either in a razorback or a tank top, and that's kind of what I'm stuck in. Same thing with dresses. It's got to be, a dress has to be spaghetti strap or strapless, for me to wear it, because anything that's got to zip up with all of me in there, it's just not happening. You could forget it. So that can be a little bit frustrating. But other than that, I enjoy it. I make no apologies for the size that I am. I am very confident and very happy in my skin. And I wish more people would learn to be more happy and confident in their skin, whether that's fit or, overweight. You should want to probably fix that. But if you're confident in your skin, I'm just saying, if you're confident though, that's it. You do have to work with whatever you're in at the time. At the moment, that's what you're in. You might as well hold your head high and stretch your stuff. When I was heavier, to be quite honest, I was confident then too. I never felt like a heavy person. It wasn't until my son called me out that I was like, oh shoot, I might need to lose a little bit of weight. So yeah, 145 pounds to be exact. It's just a little bit. But I was confident then too. So if you're a person that's struggling with your weight, you still better rock that body because you're in it. So you better rock it and feel good about it until you can make improvements. And that's kind of where I sit with that. So the next question was, how long did it take? This is a loaded question. The how long is still going. I think that's the piece in fitness that people miss. When you start on a journey of transformation, it has all kind of different, peaks and valleys. First, you're just trying to lose the weight. And then after you lose, the weight, now you're on trying to put on muscle. And so you've got that aspect of it. And then, you might go from putting on muscle to I want to be extremely shredded. So then you have that aspect of it. But one thing still remains is that this journey is never ending. I mean, I guess technically I could end it and say I'm chilling out and go to the wayside, and that will happen actually very quickly, which would not be good. But for me, it's an ongoing journey to be the best version of myself. So I don't think the journey ever ends. But to try to answer your question, from the point where I started to the point where I am, where I felt like I really looked the way I wanted to, I would say, wow, that was about a good 12, 13 years, honestly. And when I say look the way that I wanted, I also should mention mentally feel the way that I wanted to, because sometimes those two things didn't always align. There were times where I felt like I looked really good, but I was having, I think if I had to be really honest with it, I was having some eating disorder issues. And I don't mean like bulimia and anorexia. I think that a lot of bodybuilders struggle with this, feeling like we need to eat the same foods all the time, and which was crazy for me with all the knowledge and education I have. You still feel like the only way to have this physique is to eat this certain way, and you would stick yourself into this crazy basket of nonsense, eating chicken, broccoli, and rice, or some beef, broccoli, and rice because you thought that that was the way. Um, so my mental wasn't always where my physical was, and now I would say since after the big pandemic, that's when really things started to align for me. That break from competing, well, I actually competed that year, but the earlier part of the year, the break really gave me an opportunity to relax with food and not be so stressed out about, having to stay really lean all the time because I have all of these clients that I have to make sure that they see me at the tippy tippy top all the time. Man, it's crazy. Um, but I was able to relax and I started really changing my nutritional protocols. I mean, you would talk to some bodybuilders, they won't eat fruit. They think it's like the demon. And I know better. Like actually having fruit in your diet will make your body work better and release fat faster. Um, but things like that. So I started just really getting back to eating food, relaxing and eating food and looking at my body and saying, wow, I still look the same, if not actually better. So um, that getting my mind in alignment with my physique, that started right after COVID. So right now I would say it took me about 13 years, and the journey still continues, right? It's still ongoing, but I'm in a really great place physically and mentally, and yeah, I'm happy with where I'm at. So that's the question for that. Oh, this question is actually one of my favorites because if you know me, you know how much food do I eat? A lot. Actually, when I'm at the Podcast Junkie Studios, guys, when I come here is the only time I'm on a fast. I am here for hours at a time with my good friend Ben. He's also my producer, but he's my friend. Um, Chatting it away. And I don't, this is actually the first time I never really think about I need to eat my meal. Typically, I'm like, I gotta eat. But when I'm here, not so much. But how much do I eat a day? So my calories range, I have a range depending on activity level. 4,500 calories, 4,500 calories are my baseline calories right now. They can go up to as much as 6,500, 7,000 calories. If I do a ride on the bike, a long ride on the bike, I swim, I run, and I go to the gym to weightlift, that's going to be a very, very high caloric day. On a just a 2 hour bike ride, I can burn almost 2,000 calories. So just to give you an idea of why I would need to put that much calories in. So could burn up to 2,000 calories. The run might burn I'm anywhere between 800, 900 calories, depending, of course, on my mileage. And the swim, maybe 400 or 500 calories. So, you know, I'm easily burning up to almost 4,000 calories just in activity because I hadn't even added on the weight training yet. So that's why I'm eating that much food. I am not one to do a lot of protein shakes personally. I don't feel like I've eaten anything. I don't feel satiated, so that doesn't really work for me. I will use protein powders to make baked goods. So I eat a lot of muffins, some protein muffins, or some type of protein bar that I've made. Um, Tons of chicken a day, a lot of beef. I actually eat a lot more beef than people would probably care to know. And I could hear my people out there like, "Oh my God, that beef's gonna get you." It hasn't got me. I'm doing all right. My health markers look perfect. I eat a lot of eggs, almost a dozen every day. Some days between 9 and a dozen. That's kind of my start to my day. As I start with a bunch of eggs and I finish it off with eggs typically. Uh, Lots of vegetables and a crap ton of different fruit. I typically eat a lot of berries, strawberry, blackberries, raspberries, but I've been, we grew up. My mom was a big proponent of buying fruit. Anything that came out during the season. So I was thinking about her actually some months ago, and it made me kind of just reminisce on how she would get the different fruits, and it would always be something that was in season. So lately I've been eating whatever fruits are in season. So I'm just, eating them. I also eat 3 dates every day, dates. I eat them every day. I love dates. But they're really, really good for you. They're great for your metabolism. And I know people are going to say, well, they're so high in carbohydrates and sugar. They are, but they are extremely low glycemic, actually. So they're a really powerhouse fruit to have. So I eat 3 of those a day. And I eat a lot of nuts, a lot of healthy fats altogether. I'll have quite a bit of avocado. I eat a lot of walnuts, pecans, and macadamia nuts. I've kind of let go almonds. I think I'm almond out from just years of eating almonds. And actually, there's so much more nutrients that you can gain from the other nuts that I just mentioned. So I've been eating quite a bit of those. Macadamia nuts are actually phenomenal for you. They're expensive though, but I do eat quite a bit of those. And so that's pretty much what I eat. Occasionally, I'll throw in a cookie from the bakery. I'm not a person that buys things junk for the house. So if I really want something, I want to be able to have like an experience with it. So I'll go to a nice bakery, get a coffee or a tea, and have my cookie, sit down and take my time with it and enjoy it. And then twice a week, I try to have a meal off plan twice a week. Remember, we don't say the word cheat. We don't do cheat meals here. We have meals off plan. So I'll have 2 of those. And I tend to gravitate towards what I want. If it's funny, I was just talking to one of my clients about this today. How I set it up is, I have so many boxes throughout the week to check for my workouts. If I've checked the boxes up until that off plan meal, then I eat whatever the meal is that I want. If I didn't check all the boxes, typically I won't have that meal. I'll just push it out to the next one and make sure I check all my boxes. And then the day that I'm having that meal off plan, I am making sure that I hit some vigorous cardio and a really good workout, so that I'm just making sure that when I eat it, my body can absorb it without gaining, any water weight or things of that nature. Let me also say this: you rarely gain body fat from one meal. I mean, that meal would have to be astronomical. Like you'd have to have like 10 bloomin' onions from Outback Steakhouse for you to gain, some body fat. Typically, after you eat a meal like that and you're heavier the next day, it's water weight, right? Because you're not having as much carbohydrate and fats as you usually would, and so your body's responding to that. And you may have also not have been as hydrated as well going into that meal. So before I have mine, I go on fully hydrated, fully worked out, and then I have the meal, and I call it hit it and quit it. I have the meal and I'm done. I move on. I don't think about it the next day like I used to, in years past, feeling bad that I ate it. Um, I know that I worked hard and I know that my body will absorb it, and it's just a meal. So, and I enjoyed it. I also don't scarf it down. A lot of you go and you get that meal and you're just plowing through it. Take your time. I think that often lends to a lot of the guilt because then you say, I didn't even really enjoy it. Well, you scarfed it down. Take your time with it and really enjoy it. So, um, that's what I do with my food. That's about, how much I'm eating each day. And let's get to the next question. Oh, I was asked, how do I manage social settings? Ooh, this one's a big one for lots of people. I know a lot of you struggle with this. Um, I'm just going to be honest and tell you right now, it's a mindset. It's a mindset and it's a self-respect that you need to have. Um, I refuse and let me say it took me a long time to get to this. It didn't start right away. I refuse to let inanimate objects, those inanimate objects being food and drink, that can't talk to me, hug me, love me, I mean, show me any emotion, nothing, run me into feeling like I have to eat just to appeal to the other people in the room who are not in my skin and have to feel that mental dread after you've eaten and drank whatever it was. And not only that night, but it can last for almost up to a week. I just refuse to do it. I draw the line in the sand. If I'm going to a social setting that's going to be food that I probably won't be able to, that I wouldn't typically eat, there's two decisions, I guess. Let me back. Two decisions to make. There's the decision of, okay, I'll go and I'll enjoy myself and I'll eat whatever's there, or I'll pick through and figure it out. Or I'm not eating any of that because it's not on my plan for right now. I'm going to eat before I leave. I will take my drink mixes with me. If you know, you know. I go there and I stick to my guns because I am not there to eat. I am there to meet with my friends and socialize. And I think that's part of the problem. We've gotten too far away from what we are really going to said activity to do. I'm coming to see people. I don't need to eat to laugh with my friends. I don't need to have a drink of alcohol to be able to have a good time and laugh with my friends. Because maybe, just maybe, if you have to do that, you really don't like the people that you're with as much as you thought, right? And so I started analyzing that and really putting more thought into that. And when I started really realizing some groups were just not for me, I let those go. And that was great because then the pressure of all of the social things were off. And now I go to social events where I choose to, and I make my decision. Like I said, it's either I'm eating something there or I'm not. And if I'm not, I go prepared so that I'm not hungry. And I'm not tempted. I'm not tempted by things that can't talk to me. There's just no way. I mean, eating something that you know is going to make you feel not only mentally horrible but also physically horrible for days. Take some time and just think about that. Is it really that worth it? Like I say it, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Fat lasts longer than flavor. Literally. There's no amount of joy you can get out of something that you've eaten or had to drink. Think about the last thing you ate. Was it really that good? Can you even remember the flavor now as you're listening? Probably not. So have some self love and self respect and exercise your control over objects that really can't control you no matter what they can't control you. So go in with that mindset and again, it took me time to get there. It was definitely some work, but I'm happy to say that I am in full control of myself. And at the end of the day, isn't that really the ultimate goal? Is to prove that you're in control of your vessel, of yourself, and of your mind. I think, we can prove to be successful at a whole bunch of other things in life. And I say this, but if you're not successful with yourself, are you really successful? Just food for thought, or no food, whichever way you want to shake a stick at it. Um, all right. So that's how do I manage social settings? Oh, last question. Is bodybuilding for everyone? So this is two parts because I have a lot of clients that I've taken from the couch to the stage to a pro card. And that is an amazing feeling. Um, but they were doing it for the purpose of the journey. I think it's different for some people who start off the couch and they just want to lose some weight and didn't think that they could even get to where they were. But bodybuilding is, I would say, is not for you if you're only doing it for the fame of it all. Um, there's very little fame in it. And to be a top tier bodybuilder, male or female, you just have to have an incredible physique, and genetics play a huge role in that. I don't care how much drugs you take. Genetics plays a really good role in separating the top from the next level down. So I wouldn't go into it if you're looking for fame and finances. There's not a lot of finance in that sport. Um, what I have found is most of the women end up becoming OnlyFans, uh, they platform themselves on OnlyFans. I'm not downing it or anything. I'm just telling you the reality of it. So that's what most of the women do because we make a whole lot less than the men. Um, I see a lot of the men and women struggle with mental health because the fame that they thought they were going to have is not coming. Um, I think people assume that their Instagram is going to also blow up, which at the end of the day, that's great if you have a large following, but if you don't know how to monetize that, is it really that good? So really nothing comes from that as well. And honestly, to be a really good bodybuilder, you have to be in love with the journey. The stage is the outcome. I think that you need to be in love with what that process is. And if you're a person that's going to be easy to complain at every corner, like when the prep gets tough, when the cardio adds up and your food is less, I would probably say that bodybuilding is not for you. Um, Bodybuilding also is not for you if you can't pay your bills. It is one of the most expensive sports out there. I would say that triathlon definitely has it beat, but that's just because our bikes are so expensive. But honestly, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, bodybuilding is not for you. If you're a person that wants to go on steroids and bodybuild and you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're going to become a criminal because to be able to afford whatever you got to afford is not going to work. So, to answer that question, is it for everybody? It just, it depends. As my software engineer professor used to say, it depends on a lot of different factors. So it's definitely something you need to think about before embarking on that journey. So, well, those are the questions that I have for you guys today. I actually enjoyed doing it. Um, if if you have more questions that you'd like me to answer, please feel free to continue to DM me or drop them below on YouTube. I love, letting you guys get to know a little bit more about me. I'm kind of an open book, a little bit, but I'm willing to share what I'm willing to share. So we'll do that. So I want to thank you for joining me on episode 16 of the Do It Anyway podcast. Be sure again to check it out on YouTube, Spotify, and Applecast. And with that, I will see you all next week. Peace.